A person who needs communication skills doesn't have too much knowledge about their field. So they are a little bit skeptic if someone is too attractive when speaking about the scientific content. Every now and then I work with scientific institutions like the Max Planck Institute, like universities, like clinics, museums also. And a couple of days ago I worked with the Fraunhofer Institute, one of the leading research institutes. And every time I work with a scientific institution, there are two groups of scientists. One group immediately realizes how important it is to have some sort of communication skills to convey your contents, your research in a way that people enjoy listening to you. But there are other scientists, and I think it's still the majority, who thinks that a person who needs communication skills doesn't have too much knowledge about their field. So they are a little bit skeptic if someone is too attractive when speaking about the scientific content. Well, they say that only content rules, and if the content is correct, no communication skills are needed. Well, on the one hand, I agree with them, because I also think that in science, the most important thing is that the content, the research is reliable, can be repeated, that the results was done, that the research was done well. That is the content. But the mistake they have in their thinking is that if they don't speak in an attractive way, too little people listen to them. There are only a small group of people in our society who enjoy listening to a person who talks like that. And I'm quite sure you had a teacher in school, you had a professor on the university that spoke in a way that was not very attractive and not very easy to listen to. And the problem is, if a person who knows how to communicate in social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, speaks about things that he or she doesn't have any clue about. Those wannabe scientists who talk about vaccinations, who talk about CO2, who talk about climate change and things like that. The only research they've done is watching some YouTube videos and reading some tabloid magazines about scientific facts. And the problem with our society is, if they have millions and millions of followers, the society gets a content that is non-scientific. And the small group of scientists who speak like that only have an audience that is a fraction of those. And that is the result. Is we see it right now, we are in an age that is almost a pre-enlightenment. I mean, there are flat earthers. Can you imagine that there are still people who think the earth is flat? I mean, the group is not that big, but the group exists. Or there are people who think that evolution doesn't exist. It's one person or one God who created everything, every creature on earth. Although we know that evolution is now not a theory anymore. It's a fact. And why do we know that? They found bacteria. Normally, evolution, you can't do research whether evolution is a theory or not, because our every creature adapts to nature only over generations, and one lifespan of a scientist is too short to see several generations. Even Charles Darwin, who was one of the first who had the idea of the evolution, is too young, because it was 19th century, that we could, from the 19th century to the 21st century, that we could prove that he was right. But they found bacteria whose lifespan is so short and the generations are so short that over several years, scientists could see that over generations and generations, those bacteria adapted to the environment. So evolution isn't a theory anymore. But who of you has read that? Who of you has had knowledge about that? And I think it is the task, and it is an important task of scientists, to not only do research, but also to talk about their results in a way that a huge crowd wants to listen to them. Because remember, when you were in school, when you were on universities, there were a lot of professors, you listened to them only because you had to. Only a very few professors and teachers were so good in their communication that you enjoyed listening to them. And I think that is a huge dilemma we have. So it is also science who has to learn some tools about body language and about verbal communication. And what I did with the Fraunhofer Institute was not acting or some sort of delivering a show. It is only some things to know when to smile, to know when to raise your eyebrows, to know when to change from an asymmetrical body language to a symmetrical body language. So it's not about temperament and it's not about talent. Those are little things you can do. Just get rid of your reading glasses, get rid of a lot of your slides. Just talk to the people in a way that they enjoy listening to you. I got a little bit excited now because I think that's so important. Also in my field, in the field of body language, so many wannabe experts are in that field. I think the majority is wannabes, and I'm not very patient anymore with those, only because they have the talent to know how to set up a huge Instagram channel or don't know, social media channel. A lot of people listen to them and the newspapers copy what they said, although it's non-scientific. So what I want from you is tell me whether you know some teachers, some professors who were so boring that you only waited at the hour that the lesson was over and you didn't get too much of the content of the lesson. Or were you lucky enough to have a professor, a teacher who was so attractive that you enjoyed listening to him or her and also remembering a lot of the contents they talked about? I'm curious about that. And please share that video with people who follow non-scientific channels, that they realize I'm only following this channel because the person who talks on the channel is so attractive. And that way I believe that person. And I think that is a very dangerous path those people follow. Share that video and give me your opinion about, should scientists have some sort of communication skills, or is that completely overrated?